It started 2 weeks before the party, on a Tuesday evening that felt like every other Tuesday evening in my life. It was raining, a slow, miserable drizzle that made the windows of our small two-bedroom house fog up. Inside, the air smelled like garlic and oregano because I was making spaghetti sauce from scratch. Not because I was trying to be a gourmet chef, but because making it from scratch is cheaper than buying the jars, and in my house, every penny counts. Or at least, that is what my family thinks. My husband, Graham, was at the kitchen table helping our 4-year-old son, Sammy, color inside the lines of a dinosaur coloring book. Our daughter, Lola, who is 6, was setting the table. It was a peaceful scene. Just us. Quiet, warm, and happy. Then the doorbell rang. I wiped my hands on my apron and went to answer it. Standing on the porch, looking inconvenienced by the weather, was my sister, Bianca. She was holding a large, black plastic garbage bag. "Hi, Bianca," I said, opening the door wider. "Come in, it is pouring out there." She stepped inside, shaking her umbrella off on my rug without asking. She was wearing a beige trench coat that probably cost more than my first car. She looked around my living room, her eyes doing that thing they always did, scanning for dust, for clutter, for signs of failure. "I just wanted to drop this off," she said, dropping the heavy black bag onto my floor with a thud. "What is it?" I asked. "Old clothes," she said, pulling off her leather gloves. Kylie refused to wear them. She said the fabric was too scratchy. Honestly, the child has skin like a princess, she can feel a synthetic blend from a mile away. But I thought of you immediately. I figured your kids wouldn't mind the texture since, you know, they aren't used to silk or high-end cotton. The words hung in the air. I looked down at the garbage bag. It wasn't a gift. It was disposal. She was using my house as a dumpster because she didn't feel like driving to the donation center. Graham stood up from the table. He is a tall man, quiet, with broad shoulders and eyes that usually look kind. But when he looked at Bianca, his eyes were flat. "Thanks, Bianca," Graham said, his voice level. "But the kids have plenty of clothes." "Oh, don't be silly, Graham," Bianca laughed, a tinkling sound that grated on my nerves. "Kids go through clothes so fast. Besides, these are designer labels. Even if they are a few seasons old, they will be the nicest things Sammy and Lola have ever worn. No offense." I felt that familiar heat rise in my cheeks. The shame. The need to be polite because she is my older sister, because she is the successful one, because my parents worship the ground she walks on. "Thank you, Bianca," I said quietly. "That is very generous of you." Graham looked at me, his jaw tightening, but he didn't say anything. He knew I hated confrontation. He knew I had spent 30 years trying to please a sister who only saw me as an audience for her success. Bianca smiled, satisfied. "Just wash them first. They have been sitting in the back of my SUV for a month. Anyway, I can't stay. Preston and I are going to that new fusion place downtown for dinner. You know, the one with the 3-month waiting list?" Preston pulled some strings. "Right. Have fun," I said. She turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, make sure you check the pockets. Kylie might have left some candy wrappers or something in there. She is so funny." When the door closed, silence filled the room. I looked at the black bag. I looked at Graham. "Throw it out," Graham said softly. "No," I said, reaching for the bag. "I will wash them." "She is right, Graham. It saves us money on school clothes." "Tess," he said, walking over and taking my hands. "We are not destitute. We do not need her scraps." "I know," I whispered. "But it is easier to just take them than to fight her." That was my motto. It is easier not to fight. I didn't know then that in 2 weeks, I would be done taking the easy way out. 3 days later, we were at my parents' house for the monthly family dinner. This was a mandatory event. If you missed it, you got guilt-tripped for weeks about how you don't care about family. The dining room was set with my mother's good china. My father sat at the head of the table, carving a roast beef. Bianca and her husband, Preston, sat on one side. Graham and I sat on the other, with Sammy and Lola squeezed in between us. Preston was in the middle of a monologue. Preston loved monologues. He was a man who wore suits on weekends and checked his watch every 5 minutes as if he had somewhere better to be. So, the deal is basically done, Preston was saying, waving his fork for emphasis. We are just waiting on the final signature from the investment group. Helix Holdings. You guys have heard of them, right? My father nodded enthusiastically. Of course, of course. Big players. Preston smirked. Huge players. They are notoriously difficult to get a meeting with. They don't just invest in anyone. They look for pedigree. They look for vision. And they clearly saw that in my firm. Once this capital injection hits, we are talking about a complete restructuring. I'm looking at a 7-figure bonus by Christmas. My mother clasped her hands together. Oh, Preston, that is wonderful. Isn't that wonderful, Bianca? Bianca took a sip of her red wine. It is what he deserves, Mom. He has been working so hard. We are thinking of upgrading the house next year. Maybe getting a place closer to the private school. Then, Preston turned his eyes to Graham. His gaze was patronizing, like a king looking at a peasant. And how is the consulting gig going, Graham? Preston asked. Still working from the home office? Graham didn't look up from cutting Sammy's meat. It is going well, Preston. Busy. Freelance, right? Preston chuckled. You know, my firm is looking for a new mailroom manager. It is entry-level, but it comes with benefits. Might be more stable than whatever it is you are doing. Just let me know if you need a leg up. The table went quiet. It was a direct insult. Graham was not unemployed. He told everyone he was a business consultant, which was true. He just never elaborated on who his clients were or how much they paid him. We lived in a modest house, drove used cars, and didn't wear flash logos. To my family, that meant we were failing. Graham smiled. A polite, tight-lipped smile. I am happy where I am, Preston. But thank you for the offer. My mother sighed loudly. Oh, Graham, don't be proud. Preston is just trying to help. You know how hard it is to raise 2 kids on a single income, especially when Tess is only working part-time at the library. I felt small. I shrank into my chair. I loved my job at the library. I loved reading to the kids during story hour. But to my mother, it was just a cute little hobby that didn't pay the bills. Mom, we are fine, I said. We pay our bills. We have savings. My father snorted. Savings? You mean a piggy bank? Look at Bianca and Preston. That is what success looks like, Tess. You should be taking notes, not getting defensive. I tried to change the subject. I turned to Lola. Tell Grandma about your spelling bee, honey. Lola won first place in her grade yesterday. Lola lit up, wiping gravy from her mouth. I spelled chrysanthemum. It was the hardest word. That is nice, dear, my mother said, not looking at Lola. She turned immediately back to Bianca. So, tell us about the birthday party. I heard you booked the new venue? The light in Lola's eyes died. She looked down at her plate. I reached under the table and squeezed her hand, but the damage was done. My daughter's victory was nothing compared to Bianca's social calendar. Yes. Bianca beamed. The Gilded Vineyard. We finally secured the date. It is going to be the event of the season. The Gilded Vineyard. Even the name sounded expensive. I had seen pictures of it on Instagram. It was a sprawling estate with indoor gardens, crystal chandeliers, and a catering menu that cost more per head than my weekly grocery budget. My mother gasped. The one near the shopping district? I heard they have a 3-month waiting list just for a tour. Bianca flipped her hair. Well, you know Preston. He knows the owner. We are doing a garden tea party theme. Very chic. Very exclusive. We are flying in fresh tulips from Holland. Lola looked up again, hope creeping back into her voice. Is there going to be a bouncy castle, Aunt Bianca? Bianca laughed, but it wasn't a kind laugh. It was a laugh you give when someone says something incredibly stupid. No, sweetie. No bouncy castles. This isn't a carnival. It is a sophisticated gathering. She looked around the table, making sure everyone was listening. Actually, that is something I wanted to mention. We are keeping the guest list very curated this year. It is mostly going to be Kylie's friends from her dance academy and some of the children of Preston's business partners. My stomach dropped. I knew that tone. It was the tone she used when she was about to exclude us from something. What does that mean? I asked, my voice trembling slightly. It means, Bianca said, examining her manicure, that we need everyone to be on their best behavior. It is a strict dress code. Pastels and whites only. No jeans. No sneakers. And definitely no loud noises. We are hiring a string quartet. She looked directly at Sammy, who was currently trying to balance a pea on his fork. It sounds beautiful, I said. We will make sure the kids are dressed up. I can buy them new outfits. Bianca hesitated. She exchanged a look with my mother. Right, she said slowly. About that. I was thinking, maybe it would be better if you and Graham came alone? What? I asked. It is a 6th birthday party. I know, Bianca said. But it is elevated. Kylie is inviting her friends from private school. They are used to a certain atmosphere. Sammy and Lola are, well, they are high energy. I don't want them running around and knocking over the champagne tower. My mother nodded in agreement. She has a point, Tess. Sammy can be a handful. Remember last Christmas when he cried because he didn't get the toy he wanted? We don't want a scene like that in front of Preston's investors. He was 3 years old. I argued. And he had an ear infection. It doesn't matter, Bianca said, waving her hand dismissively. Look, if you really want to bring them, I guess you can. But please, Tess, try to make them look presentable. I don't want them showing up in those superhero t-shirts. This is a networking opportunity for Preston as much as it is a birthday. I felt Graham stiffen beside me. He placed his fork down gently, but the sound echoed in my ears. We will buy them new clothes, Graham said, his voice calm but cold. They will look fine. Bianca shrugged. Okay. But don't say I didn't warn you. The photographer I hired is world-class. I want these photos to be perfect. I looked at my kids. Lola was eating her potatoes, oblivious to the fact that her aunt viewed her as a stain on a perfect picture. Sammy was humming a little song. They were good kids. They were kind kids. Why wasn't that enough? Why did they have to be rich to be loved by this family? I promised myself then and there. I would make sure they looked perfect. I would spend every dime I had in my savings if I had to. I would prove to Bianca that my children belonged. I didn't know it was a game I could never win. The week before the party, I went to the mall alone. I didn't go to the discount store where I usually shopped. I went to the high-end department store, the one where the sales clerks look you up and down before deciding if you are worth saying hello to. I had $300 in cash in my purse. That was my emergency fund. That was money for a car repair or a doctor's visit. But today, it was dignity money. I found a beautiful dress for Lola. It was pale yellow with lace trim, exactly the pastel theme Bianca had demanded. It cost $80. I winced at the price tag, but I put it in the basket. For Sammy, I found a little beige linen suit with a white button-down shirt. It looked like something a miniature prince would wear. It was $120. I bought new shoes for both of them. White patent leather for Lola. Brown loafers for Sammy. By the time I left the store, I had spent $340. I had to put the extra $40 on my credit card. My hands were shaking as I signed the receipt. It was reckless. It was irresponsible. But as I imagined walking into that party with my children looking like angels, I told myself it was worth it. When I got home, I laid the outfits out on the bed. They were beautiful. Crisp, clean, expensive. I took a picture of the clothes. I was proud. I wanted to show Bianca that I had listened. That I had stepped up. I opened the family group chat. It included me, Graham, Bianca, Preston, and our parents. I typed, "Ready for the big day. Found these perfect outfits for Sammy and Lola. They are going to match the theme perfectly. Can't wait." I hit send. I watched the screen. Read by Mom. Read by Bianca. I waited for a heart reaction. A thumbs up. A great job, Tess. Nothing. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. The silence felt heavy. Usually, my mother would reply instantly to anything Bianca posted. If Bianca posted a picture of her morning coffee, my mom would comment stunning. But for me? Nothing. I started to feel a pit form in my stomach. Had I bought the wrong shade of yellow? Was linen not formal enough? Then, my phone rang. The screen said, "Sister calling." I picked it up on the first ring. "Hey. Did you see the picture? Do you like the dress?" There was a pause on the other end. I could hear Bianca sighing. It was a long, dramatic sigh. "Hi, Tess," she said. "Yeah, I saw the picture." "And?" I asked, looking at the cute little shoes on my bed. "Look," she said. "You really shouldn't have spent money on those." "Why?" I asked. "They are pastels. They are dressy." "Tess," Bianca said, her voice dropping to a whisper, like she was telling me a secret I was too stupid to understand. "They are nice. For, you know, church. Or a school recital. But for this venue? They just look a little, department store." I gripped the phone tighter. "They are from Macy's, Bianca. They aren't cheap." "I know," she said. "But everyone else is wearing custom. Or at least designer. Ralph Lauren. Burberry. Those outfits, they just scream off the rack." Tears pricked my eyes. "Bianca, I spent $300. That is a lot of money for us." "I didn't ask you to do that," she snapped. "I told you it was going to be exclusive. Look, this is awkward, but I think it is better if we just make a call now before Saturday." "Make a call? What call?" "I think," she paused again. "I think it is best if you and Graham don't bring the kids." I froze. "What?" "It is just the vibe, Tess. Preston's investors are going to be there. The CEO of the venture firm might stop by. I can't have Sammy running around in a polyester suit looking like he is going to a court hearing. And Lola, look, she is a sweet girl, but she asks too many questions. It is not that kind of party." "You are uninviting my children?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "From their cousin's birthday?" "I am not uninviting them," Bianca insisted. "I am just saying this event isn't appropriate for them. We will have a separate cake for them at Mom and Dad's house next week. Just the family. That is better, right? They will be happier. They won't feel so out of place." Out of place. She meant poor. She meant unwanted. "But I bought the clothes," I said, staring at the yellow dress. "Return them," she said. "Get your money back. Honestly, Tess, I am doing you a favor. You would have shown up, and everyone would have stared, and you would have felt embarrassed. I am trying to protect you. Protect me? Or protect your image? Both, she said. Look, I have to go. The florist is here. Just come around 2 o'clock on Saturday. Adults only. Okay? Thanks for understanding, Tess. You are the best. She hung up. I sat on the edge of my bed. The yellow dress looked blurry through my tears. The little brown loafers looked like a joke. I had tried so hard. I had spent everything I had. And it still wasn't enough. I sat there for 20 minutes, staring at the black screen of my phone. The rejection was physical. It felt like a punch to the gut. It wasn't just that she didn't want them there. It was the reason. They scream off the rack. She was ashamed of us. She was ashamed of my beautiful, happy, healthy children because they didn't look like they stepped out of a catalog for millionaires. I replayed the conversation in my head. Preston's investors. The CEO. This wasn't a birthday party. It was a business transaction. And my children were liabilities. The bedroom door opened. Graham walked in. He had just put Sammy down for a nap. Hey, he said softly. He saw my face immediately. Tess? What is wrong? I couldn't speak at first. I just pointed at the clothes on the bed. He walked over and sat beside me. Did Bianca say something? I took a deep breath, trying to steady my voice. She uninvited them, Graham. She said we can come, but the kids can't. Graham's face didn't change, but the temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Why? He asked. His voice was very quiet. Because. I choked on a sob. Because she said they look cheap. She said these clothes, this $300 I spent, she said it looks like department store trash. She said she doesn't want the poor relations aesthetic ruining Preston's networking event. Graham looked at the little yellow dress. He reached out and touched the lace with his large hand. He smoothed it out gently. She used the word cheap? He asked. Yes, I whispered. And she said Sammy looks like he is going to a court hearing. She said she is doing me a favor so I won't be embarrassed. Graham stood up. He walked to the window and looked out at our backyard. It was small, and the grass needed mowing, but it was ours. He stood there for a long time. His back was rigid. I wiped my eyes. I guess I will return the clothes tomorrow, I said, my voice sounding hollow. And we can just go for an hour? Just to show face? If we don't go, Mom will never let me hear the end of it. No, Graham said. He turned around. His face was different. Usually, Graham is a soft man. He is the guy who catches spiders and puts them outside. He is the guy who cries at Disney movies. But right now, he looked dangerous. We are not returning the clothes, he said. And we are not going to that party. But Graham. Tess, listen to me. He walked back to me and crouched down so he was eye level. We do not go where we are not respected. We do not break bread with people who look at our children and see trash. Do you understand? But the family. The family is wrong, he said firmly. They have bullied you your entire life. I have stayed quiet because I know you love them. But this? Targeting the kids? Calling them cheap? That is the line. They crossed it. He stood up and pulled his phone out of his pocket. It wasn't his usual phone. It was a sleek, black device I had only seen him use a few times for his consulting work. What are you doing? I asked. I am sending an RSVP, he said. He typed something quickly. His thumbs moved with a speed and precision I hadn't seen before. He didn't look angry anymore. He looked resolved. Like a judge delivering a sentence. There, he said, slipping the phone back into his pocket. We are busy on Saturday. what are we doing? We are taking the kids to the aquarium, he said, a small smile touching his lips. And then we are going to get pizza. The greasy kind. And we are going to let them wear whatever they want. I looked at him. I had never loved him more than in that moment. He was protecting us. He was choosing us. Okay, I said, feeling a weight lift off my chest. The aquarium. That night, after dinner, Graham went into his small home office. Usually, he leaves the door open so he can hear the kids playing. Tonight, he closed it. I was in the kitchen washing dishes, but the house is small, and the walls are thin. I heard him talking. Not his usual polite phone voice. This was a voice of command. Yes, I need the file on the Miller proposal, I heard him say. No, not the summary. The full diligence report. Pause. I don't care what time it is in London. Get him on the line. I turned off the water. Who was he talking to? Preston's last name was Miller. Was he calling Preston? No, Graham wouldn't do that. Graham hated conflict. He probably just had a client with the same last name. It was a common name. I dried my hands and walked to the office door. I was about to knock when I heard him say one more thing. Prepare the termination clauses. I want to be ready to pull the trigger by Saturday afternoon. He hung up. I knocked and opened the door. Graham was sitting at his desk, staring at his laptop screen. The light from the monitor reflected in his glasses. He looked up and smiled, the dangerous look gone. Hey, he said. Just finishing up some work. Is everything okay? I asked. You sounded intense. Just a difficult client, he said, closing the laptop. Nothing for you to worry about. How are the kids? They are asleep, I said. Graham, are you sure about Saturday? Mom is going to be furious. Let her be furious, he said, standing up and wrapping his arms around me. Tess, you have spent your whole life trying to buy a ticket to a show that doesn't want you in the audience. Stop buying tickets. We have our own show right here. I rested my head on his chest. He smelled like soap and safety. I know, I said. It just hurts. I know it does, he said, kissing the top of my head. But pain is a signal. It tells you to pull your hand away from the fire. Bianca is the fire. Stop touching the fire. I nodded. He was right. The next morning, the backlash began. I was feeding Sammy his oatmeal when my phone rang. It was my mother. I put it on speaker so I could keep wiping oatmeal off Sammy's face. Hi, Mom, I said, bracing myself. Tess. My mother shouted. Bianca tells me you aren't coming on Saturday? Is this a joke? No, Mom, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Bianca uninvited the kids. She said they weren't appropriate for the venue. Graham and I aren't going to come without them. We are a family. We come as a package. My mother groaned. Oh, for heaven's sake, Tess. Stop being so dramatic. She didn't uninvite them. She just suggested it would be better for everyone if they stayed home. Why do you always have to make everything about you? About me? I laughed, a harsh sound. Mom, she called my children cheap. She told me to my face that they would ruin the aesthetic. She is under a lot of pressure. My mother defended. Do you know how important this party is for Preston? This isn't just a birthday, Tess. It is a business launch. They have investors coming from the city. If Preston lands this deal, it changes everything for them. And what about my kids? I asked. What about their feelings? They are 4 and 6, Tess. They won't even remember. My mother's voice was shrill. You are being incredibly selfish. You are willing to sabotage your sister's big day just because your feelings are hurt. Grow up. I felt the tears coming again, but this time, they were angry tears. I am not sabotaging anything, Mom. I am just not attending. If her party is so fancy, she won't miss her cheap sister. You are making a mistake, my father's voice chimed in from the background. You are driving a wedge in this family, Tess. If you don't show up, don't expect us to come to your little Christmas dinner this year. The threat hung in the air. My parents were threatening to boycott Christmas because I wouldn't let my sister insult my children. Fine, I said. My hand was shaking, but my voice was surprisingly clear. If that is your choice, I accept it. But we are not coming. I hung up before they could say anything else. Sammy looked up at me, a spoon in his mouth. Grandma mad? He asked. No, baby, I said, kissing his sticky forehead. Grandma is just confused. But we are going to have a great day on Saturday. Just us. I turned off my phone. I didn't want to see the texts I knew were coming. I didn't want to see the guilt trips. I was done. At least, I thought I was done. I didn't know that on Saturday, the world was going to crash down, and the person holding the sledgehammer would be the man I slept next to every night. Wow, talk about a toxic family, right? I can't believe her own mother sided with the sister. If you are enjoying this story and you are on Team Graham and Tess, please hit that like button right now. It really helps the channel. And hey, I want to know where you are listening from. Leave a comment down below with the name of your city. Let's see how far this story travels. Alright, let's get back to the drama, because things are about to get absolutely crazy in the next part. Saturday morning arrived with a bright, mocking sunshine. It was the kind of day that was perfect for a garden party. The sky was a brilliant, cloudless blue, and the air was warm but not humid. Nature, it seemed, was on Bianca's side. I woke up with a heavy knot in my chest. I knew exactly what was happening across town. By now, caterers were setting up white linen tables. Florists were arranging thousands of dollars worth of imported tulips. My sister was probably screaming at a waiter for placing a fork 2 millimeters to the left. But I forced a smile onto my face. Today wasn't about them. It was about us. Good morning, sunshine, I announced, walking into the kids' room. Who is ready for an adventure? Sammy bounced up in his bed immediately. Me. Me. Is it the party? I felt a sharp pang, but I kept the smile plastered on. No, buddy, even better. We are going to the city aquarium. We are going to see the sharks and the jellyfish. Lola sat up, rubbing her eyes. But Mommy, I thought today was Kylie's birthday. Don't we have to give her the present? I sat on the edge of her bed and brushed the hair out of her face. We mailed Kylie her present, sweetie. Remember? The art set you picked out? Today, Aunt Bianca is having a grown-up party. It is going to be very boring. Just lots of talking and standing around. So, Daddy and I thought, why should you guys be bored? We should do something fun instead. Lola seemed to consider this. Will there be pizza? Graham appeared in the doorway, holding a stack of pancakes. There will be the biggest pizza you have ever seen, he promised. And ice cream. And I think the gift shop has those glowing swords you like. The kids cheered, and for a moment, the tension in my shoulders relaxed. We could do this. We could protect them from the truth. We drove into the city, blasting the Frozen soundtrack. Graham, who usually hates pop music, sang along to every word of Let It Go just to make Sammy laugh. We arrived at the aquarium right when it opened. It was magical. The main tank was a towering wall of blue water, filled with sea turtles, stingrays, and schools of shimmering fish. Sammy pressed his face against the glass, his eyes wide with wonder. Lola ran from tank to tank, reading the little plaques out loud. Look, Mommy. That is a hammerhead shark. She pointed excitedly. We spent 3 hours wandering through the exhibits. We watched the penguins get fed. We touched the starfish in the tide pool. For those 3 hours, I didn't think about Bianca. I didn't think about the gilded vineyard. I just watched my children be happy, unburdened by the knowledge that their own family considered them too cheap to be seen. Around 1 o'clock, we stopped for lunch at the Aquarium Cafe. It was crowded and noisy, smelling of French fries and popcorn. We found a table near the window. "I am going to get the food," Graham said, squeezing my shoulder. "You guys save the table." I sat down, watching Lola and Sammy color on the paper placemats. They were laughing, arguing over the blue crayon. They looked perfect to me. Lola was wearing her favorite t-shirt with a sequined unicorn, and Sammy was wearing his dinosaur shorts. They didn't look cheap. They looked like children. I pulled my phone out of my purse. I told myself I wouldn't do it. I told myself I would stay offline. But curiosity is a poison, and I drank it. I opened Facebook. The first thing on my feed was a notification. "Mom is live." My finger hovered over the screen. I knew I shouldn't click it. I knew it would only hurt. But I had to see. I had to know what we were missing. I tapped the video. The video loaded. The quality was crisp. My mother must have upgraded her phone recently. The screen was filled with white tablecloths, white flowers, guests in white and cream outfits. It looked less like a birthday party and more like a wedding for royalty. A string quartet was playing soft classical music in the background. Waiters in tuxedos were circulating with silver trays. My mother was holding the phone selfie style. She was wearing a large hat and holding a glass of champagne. Her face was flushed. She looked happy. Happier than I had seen her in years. "Hello everyone," she was saying to the camera. "Just showing off the venue. Look at this. Isn't it divine? Bianca has outdone herself. This is the event of the year." She panned the camera around. I saw Preston laughing with a group of men in suits. I saw Bianca posing for a photographer with Kylie. Kylie looked stiff in a dress that looked like a miniature wedding gown. She wasn't smiling. "Look at the flowers," my mother narrated. "Imported from Holland. Only the best for our Kylie." I watched, feeling a cold numbness spread through my veins. It was beautiful, yes. But it was cold. There were no balloons. No streamers. No kids running around. The only child there was Kylie, and she looked miserable. Then, a woman's voice spoke from off-camera. I recognized it. It was Mrs. Gable, one of my mother's wealthy friends from the club. "It is lovely, Susan," Mrs. Gable said. "But where are the other grandkids? Where are Tessa's little ones? I thought they were the same age as Kylie." My breath hitched. I leaned closer to the phone. My mother laughed. It was a high, tinkling laugh that sounded incredibly fake. She took a sip of her champagne before answering. "Oh, you know," my mother said, waving her hand dismissively. "We decided it was best to leave the Walmart crew at home today." My heart stopped. "The Walmart crew?" Mrs. Gable asked, chuckling. "Yes," my mother continued, her voice loud and clear over the string quartet. "They are sweet, but you know Tess. She doesn't really teach them manners. They are a bit wild. Bianca didn't want them breaking the crystal or ruining the vibe for Preston's investors. You know how it is. Some people just don't fit in at a place like this." I felt like I had been slapped. The Walmart crew. That was what my mother called her own grandchildren behind their backs. I went to close the video, my hand trembling with rage. But I wasn't fast enough. Lola had come up behind me to ask for a napkin. She was standing right over my shoulder. Her face was inches from the screen. "Is that Grandma?" Lola asked. I fumbled with the phone, trying to turn it off, but the volume was up. "Better to keep the riffraff away," Mrs. Gable said on the video. "Exactly," my mother agreed. We will send them a slice of cake later. If there is any left. The video ended as I finally hit the lock button. The screen went black. I turned slowly to look at Lola. She was standing very still. Her sequined unicorn shirt caught the light from the window. Her big brown eyes were wide, filled with a confusion that was rapidly turning into hurt. "Mommy?" she whispered. "Yeah, baby?" I choked out. "Why did Grandma call us the Walmart crew?" I opened my mouth, but no words came out. How do you explain classism to a 6-year-old? How do you explain that her grandmother, the woman who knits her sweaters and bakes her cookies, thinks she is trash? Is Walmart bad? Lola asked, her voice trembling. Is that why we couldn't go? Because we are bad? No. I grabbed her shoulders. No, Lola. You are not bad. You are wonderful. Grandma was she was making a silly joke. A bad joke. Lola pulled away from me. Tears started to spill down her cheeks. She said we are riffraff, Lola sobbed. I know what that means. It means garbage. Graham came back to the table carrying a tray of pizza and sodas. He was smiling, about to make a joke about the long line. Then he saw us. He saw me, pale and shaking. He saw Lola, burying her face in her hands, sobbing. He saw Sammy, who had stopped coloring and was looking at his sister with a wobbly lip, about to cry just because she was crying. Graham dropped the tray on the table. The sodas wobbled, but he didn't care. What happened? He demanded. His voice was low, but it carried a terrifying intensity. Did someone hurt her? He looked around the cafe, ready to fight a stranger. It was Mom, I whispered. On Facebook. A live stream. Graham sat down next to Lola. He ignored the pizza. He pulled Lola into his lap. She curled into him, burying her face in his chest. Shoo, it is okay, Lolo. Daddy is here. Tell me what happened. Lola took a ragged breath. Grandma said, she said on the video that we are the Walmart crew. She said we are riffraff. She told her friend that we would break the crystal because we don't have manners. She looked up at Graham, her face streaked with tears. Daddy, are we poor? Is that why Aunt Bianca doesn't want us? Are we too cheap for her? I watched Graham's face. I saw the exact moment his heart broke. And then, I saw the moment it hardened into stone. He closed his eyes for a second. When he opened them, the warmth was gone. The gentle father, the patient husband, the man who let people walk all over him to keep the peace, he was gone. No, baby, Graham said. His voice was steady, like a rock. You are not poor. And you are certainly not cheap. Aunt Bianca and Grandma are just confused. They value the wrong things. But they didn't invite us, Lola cried. They left us out. I know, Graham said. And that is the biggest mistake they have ever made. He looked at me over Lola's head. His eyes were dark. Did she say anything else? He asked me. I nodded, wiping my own tears. She said she was doing it for Preston's investors. To protect the vibe. Graham nodded slowly. Preston's investors, he repeated. He gently lifted Lola off his lap and set her down on the bench. He handed her a slice of pizza. Eat your lunch, sweetie. We are going to have a great afternoon. But first, Daddy has to make a phone call. Here? I asked. Now? Yes, Graham said. He stood up. He didn't look like a guy in a t-shirt and jeans at an aquarium cafe anymore. He looked like a titan. I am going outside for 5 minutes, he said. Watch the kids. He walked out of the cafe, pulling that sleek black phone from his pocket. I watched him through the glass window. He was pacing back and forth on the sidewalk. He wasn't yelling. He was speaking into the phone with a calm, terrifying precision. I didn't know who he was calling. But looking at the set of his jaw, I knew one thing for sure, the Gilded Vineyard was about to get hit by a storm, and they wouldn't even see the clouds coming. We finished our day at the aquarium. Graham was quiet on the drive home. He held my hand across the center console, his grip tight. The kids fell asleep in the back seat, exhausted from crying and playing. When we got home, Graham carried Sammy inside and tucked him into bed. I settled Lola in her room with her iPad. "Meet me in the study," Graham said to me in the hallway. I followed him. Graham's study was a small spare room at the back of the house. It had a desk, a bookshelf full of old paperbacks, and a laptop. It was ordinary. But today, Graham didn't sit at his desk. He walked to the closet and moved a box of old tax returns aside. Behind it was a small wall safe I knew existed but never thought much about. I assumed he kept our passports and birth certificates in there. He punched in a code. The door beeped and swung open. He reached in and pulled out a silver laptop, sleek, metallic, expensive. He also pulled out a thick leather folio. "Graham?" I asked, leaning against the doorframe. "What is going on?" He placed the items on the desk and turned to me. "Tess, you know I do consulting," he said. "Yes," I said. "For businesses." He nodded. "That is true. But I don't just consult. I invest." He opened the leather folio. Inside were documents with complex headers and logos I didn't recognize. But one name stood out at the top of the page in bold, embossed letters: Helix Holdings. "Helix Holdings?" I said. "That is the company Preston wouldn't shut up about. The one he is waiting on funding from." Graham looked me in the eye. "Tess, I am Helix Holdings." I stared at him. I laughed, a nervous, confused sound. "What? No, you are not. Helix is a massive venture capital firm. They manage billions." "Technically," Graham said, calm as ever, "I am the majority shareholder and the chairman of the board. I founded it 12 years ago, before we met. I stepped back from day-to-day operations when Sammy was born because I wanted to be a dad. I wanted a normal life. I didn't want our kids growing up like Bianca's, obsessed with labels and status." My mouth fell open. You are a billionaire?" "On paper, yes," he said. "But, our car? The house? The coupons I clip? I like our life, Tess," he said earnestly. "I like that we are real. I like that our friends like us for us, not for my money. But right now?" He tapped the silver laptop. "Right now, I am very glad I have it. Because money is the only language your family speaks." He opened the laptop. He logged in with a fingerprint scanner. "Preston has been courting my acquisition team for 6 months, Graham explained. He wants $20 million in series of funding. He needs it. His company is leveraged to the hilt. Without this cash infusion, he is bankrupt in 90 days. And?" I whispered. "And," Graham said, his voice turning icy, "my team was scheduled to sign the final paperwork on Monday morning. Preston thinks it is a done deal. He is probably toasting to it right now at that party." Graham pulled out his phone. He put it on speaker so I could hear. He dialed a number. It rang once. "Sir?" A voice answered immediately. Crisp, professional. "Hello, Marcus," Graham said. "I need you to pull up the Miller file. The deal with Preston Miller. I have it right here, sir. Final contracts are drafted. We are just waiting for the Monday meeting." "Kill it," Graham said. There was a pause on the other end. "Kill it, sir? The whole deal?" "Terminate it immediately," Graham said. "Pull the term sheet. Notify his CFO. And Marcus?" "Yes, sir? I want you to be very specific about the reason." "Go ahead." "Tell him," Graham said, looking directly at me, that the chairman has personally reviewed the partnership. Tell him that Helix Holdings does not invest in leadership that demonstrates poor judgment and a lack of family values. Family values, sir? Yes. And Marcus? Add one more thing. Tell him that the chairman felt his company's assets were simply too cheap for our portfolio. I heard Marcus hesitate, then clear his throat. Too cheap. Understood, sir. I will send the notification now. He will receive it via email and courier within the hour. Thank you, Marcus. Graham hung up. The silence in the room was deafening. You just destroyed him, I whispered. $20 million. Graham, that will ruin them. They ruined my daughter's self-esteem for a photo op, Graham said. He closed the laptop. They called my son riffraff. I am simply returning the energy they put out. But they will know it was you, I said. Eventually, yes, Graham said. But for the next hour? They are going to wonder which god they angered. He stood up and walked over to me. He took my hands. His palms were warm. Are you okay with this? He asked. If I do this, Tess, there is no going back. Your parents, Bianca, they will hate us. Not for being poor, but for having power they can't control. I thought about Lola crying in the aquarium. I thought about the black garbage bag of clothes. I thought about the phrase Walmart crew. Do it, I said. Burn it down. It took 45 minutes. Graham and I were sitting in the living room, drinking tea, waiting. The house was quiet. The calm before the storm. Then, my phone buzzed. Then it buzzed again. And again. I looked at the screen. 3 missed calls from Bianca. 5 missed calls from Mom. 2 missed calls from Dad. And a string of texts, what is going on? Answer the phone, Tess. Did Graham do this? Pick up. I looked at Graham. He nodded. I picked up the phone on the next ring. It was Bianca. Hello? I said calmly. What did you do? Bianca screamed. She wasn't using her polished, high society voice. She sounded like a banshee. What the hell did your husband do? I don't know what you are talking about, Bianca, I said. We are just having a quiet afternoon. Don't lie to me. She shrieked. I could hear chaos in the background. Voices shouting. Someone crying. Music had stopped. Preston just got an email. The deal is dead. Helix pulled the funding. They said the assets were too cheap. I let out a small, cold laugh. Oh? That is a strange coincidence. Coincidence? Bianca yelled. Preston is hyperventilating in the coat check room. His investors are walking out. He asked the Helix rep why, and the guy said the order came from the chairman personally. He said it was about family values. She paused, breathing heavily. Tess, tell me the truth. Does Graham know someone at Helix? Did he badmouth Preston? Did he tell them about the party? Graham reached over and took the phone from my hand. He put it on speaker. Hello, Bianca, Graham said. His voice was smooth, deep, and utterly unbothered. Graham. She screamed. You petty little, did you call them? Did you ruin a $20 million deal because I didn't invite your bratty kids? I didn't call them, Bianca, Graham said. Liar. They used your words. They said too cheap. I didn't call them, Graham repeated, because I am them. Silence. Absolute, dead silence on the line. What? Bianca whispered. I am the chairman of Helix Holdings, Graham said casually. I founded it. I own it. And I decided that I don't want my money in the hands of a man whose wife thinks my children are trash. No. Bianca stammered. No, that is impossible. You drive a Volvo. You wear t-shirts. I am wealthy, Bianca. Not insecure. There is a difference. I could hear her breathing hitch. The reality was sinking in. The loser brother-in-law she had mocked for years held her entire future in his hands. Graham, she choked out. Please. You can't do this. We need that money. We have debts. The house, the party. You should have thought about that before you called my daughter the Walmart crew on a livestream, Graham said. I didn't say that. That was Mom. You laughed, Graham said. You agreed. You excluded them. You made them cry. Graham, please. She was sobbing now. We can fix this. Bring the kids. Come to the party right now. We will make a space for them. I will kick everyone else out. Just please, don't cancel the deal. It is too late, Bianca, Graham said. The deal is dead. And so is my patience. He hung up. 5 minutes later, the phone rang again. This time, it was a number I didn't recognize. Graham answered it. Hello? Is this Graham? It was Preston. He sounded like a man who had just run a marathon while having a panic attack. Hello, Preston, Graham said. Graham, look, man, Preston stammered. There has been a huge misunderstanding. Bianca, she is hysterical. She is saying crazy things. She says you are Helix? That is correct. Okay, Preston let out a nervous, high-pitched laugh. Wow. Wow. Keeping it under wraps, huh? Respect. Look, Graham, obviously, if I had known, things would be different. Obviously, Graham said dryly. We are family, right? Preston continued, his voice desperate. Brothers. We can work this out. Whatever Bianca said, you know how women get with parties. It is stress. She didn't mean it. And I had nothing to do with it. I love your kids. You love my kids? Graham asked. Really? Is that why you offered me a job in your mailroom last week? To help me out? That was just a joke. Preston cried. Just banter. Preston, Graham said, his voice dropping an octave. You watched your wife treat Tess like a servant for years. You sat at that dinner table and mocked my job while begging for capital from a company I built from the ground up. You are not a victim here. You are an accomplice. Graham, please, Preston begged. If this funding doesn't come through on Monday, I am finished. My creditors will seize the business. I will lose the house. I will lose everything. You wanted a luxury experience, Preston, Graham said. You didn't want cheap people around. So I removed my cheap money from your company. Don't do this. Preston screamed. I will sue you. I will sue you for conflict of interest. Go ahead, Graham said. My legal team is on retainer. They charge $2,000 an hour. Can you afford that right now? Preston made a choking sound. You have a nice party, Preston, Graham said. Eat some cake. It might be the last expensive meal you have for a while. Graham ended the call and turned the phone off completely. He tossed it onto the sofa. He looked at me. He looked tired, but relieved. It is done, he said. I walked over and hugged him. I buried my face in his chest. I felt safe. For the first time in my life, the bullies hadn't won. Thank you, I whispered. Don't thank me, he said, kissing my hair. I should have done it years ago. Sunday morning was a nightmare. My parents showed up at our door at 8 a.m. They didn't knock. They pounded. I opened the door, and my mother pushed past me, her face red and blotchy from crying. My father followed, looking thunderous. Where is he? My mother screamed. Where is that monster? Graham walked into the living room, holding a mug of coffee. He was wearing pajamas. He looked completely unruffled. "Good morning, Barbara." "Bob." My father marched up to him and poked a finger in his chest. "You ruin my daughter's life? You destroy her husband's business over a birthday party? Are you insane?" I stepped between them. "Don't touch him, Dad." My mother spun on me. "And you? You let him do this? You let him bankrupt your sister? How could you be so jealous? So petty? Jealous?" I shouted back. "Mom, you called my children the Walmart crew on the internet. You laughed at them. It was a joke." My mother shrieked. "A private joke. It was a live stream." I yelled. Lola saw it. She cried herself to sleep asking if she was trash. My mother paused, but only for a second. She didn't apologize. She pivoted. "So? She is a child. She will get over it. But money, Tess? Money is real. Graham has destroyed the family's future. Preston was going to take care of us in our retirement. And now? They are talking about foreclosure." Graham took a sip of his coffee. "Maybe you should have been nicer to the son-in-law who actually has money," Graham said calmly. "Instead of betting on the one who was drowning in debt." My father stared at Graham. "Is it true? Are you really worth what they say?" Graham looked at him with pure disgust. "Does it matter, Bob? If I was a janitor, would it be okay for you to treat my kids like dirt?" My father stammered. "Well, no. But, family is family. You help family." "No," Graham said. "You help people who respect you. You guys bet on the wrong horse. And now you are mad because you lost the race." "You have to fix this," my mother demanded. "Call Helix. Reinstate the deal. Now. Or so help me God, I will never speak to you again." Graham looked at me. It was my choice. I looked at my mother. The woman who had criticized my clothes, my house, and my husband for 10 years. The woman who had chosen Bianca over me every single time. "Get out," I said. "What?" My mother gasped. "Get out of my house," I said, pointing to the door. "And don't come back until you learn how to apologize to my children." "Tess, you can't mean that," my father said. "I mean it. Get out." They left, cursing us as they walked down the driveway. I slammed the door and locked it. My hands were shaking, but my heart felt light. 3 days later, Bianca and Preston came. They looked like ghosts. Bianca was wearing sweatpants, no makeup, hair in a messy bun. Preston looked like he hadn't slept in 72 hours. They sat on our couch, wringing their hands. "Please," Bianca said, her voice cracking. "We are losing the house. The bank called this morning. We have 30 days to vacate." "I am sorry," I said. But I didn't feel sorry. I felt numb. "Graham," Preston said, looking at the floor. "I know I was a jerk. I know I was arrogant. But I learned my lesson. Okay? You win. You are the big dog. Just, please. Throw us a lifeline. Not 20 million. Just enough to keep the lights on." Graham sat in his armchair, looking at them. "Tell me," Graham said. "If the roles were reversed, if I came to you begging for help because my kids were hungry, would you have helped me? Or would you have offered me a job in the mailroom and laughed?" Preston didn't answer. He couldn't lie. Bianca looked at me. "Tess, we are sisters. Doesn't that mean anything?" "It meant something to me," I said. "I bought those clothes with my emergency money, Bianca. I tried so hard to please you. And you called my kids cheap. You uninvited them. You broke my heart." "I am sorry," Bianca wailed. I was stressed. I wanted everything to be perfect. It was perfect, I said. It was perfectly cruel. Graham stood up. The answer is no. But where will we go? Bianca cried. We can't live in a condo. We have an image to maintain. Then I guess you better start looking for jobs, Graham said. I heard the mailroom is hiring. He opened the door for them. They left in tears. It was a harsh justice, but it was justice. The fallout was swift. Preston's company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy 2 weeks later. The news hit the local business papers. Promising startup collapses after funding pull. They sold the big house. They sold the luxury SUVs. They moved into a rented 3-bedroom apartment in a complex not far from ours. It was a nice apartment, perfectly adequate. But to Bianca, it was a prison. My parents were devastated. Their retirement plan, leeching off Preston's success, evaporated. They tried to reach out to us a few times, sending cards, leaving voicemails. But we held the line. The friends who had attended the party vanished. Once the money was gone, the social circle evaporated. Bianca found out the hard way that those exclusive people she wanted to impress didn't care about her at all. A month after the incident, we decided to have our own party. It wasn't for a birthday. It was just a we love you party. We invited the neighbors, the kids from Sammy's preschool, and my friends from the library. We ordered 10 pizzas. We rented a bouncy castle. We bought silly string and water balloons. Lola wore her sequined unicorn shirt. Sammy wore his dinosaur shorts. I watched them run around the backyard, screaming with laughter, covered in cake frosting. Lola ran up to me, breathless. Mommy! This is the best party ever. I hugged her tight. You think so? Yes. No one is telling us to be quiet. And the pizza is so cheesy. Graham walked over and put his arm around me. He watched the kids playing. You know, he said. I could buy this whole neighborhood if I wanted to. I could build them a castle. I know, I smiled. But I think they like the bouncy one better. He kissed my forehead. You are right. This is better. We were still rich, wealthier than I had ever imagined. But we didn't change our lives much. We fixed the roof. We bought new cars, safe ones, not flashy ones. We started college funds for the kids. But the most important thing Graham's money bought us was freedom. Freedom from my family's judgment. Freedom from the need to please people who hated us. It has been 6 months now. We are still low contact with my parents. We see them on holidays, briefly. They are polite, terrified of offending Graham. It is a strange dynamic, but it is peaceful. We are no contact with Bianca and Preston. I heard Bianca got a job as a receptionist at a dental office. I hope she treats the patients with kindness, but I doubt it. Sometimes, late at night, I look at the clothes I bought for that party. The yellow dress and the little linen suit. I kept them. Not because I want them to wear them, but as a reminder. A reminder that worth isn't about the price tag on your collar. It isn't about the venue of your party. It is about how you treat people. My sister wanted an exclusive life. She wanted to filter out the cheap people. Well, she got her wish. She is very exclusive now. She is exclusively alone. And us? We are just the Walmart crew. And we have never been happier. So, am I wrong? Am I wrong for letting my husband destroy my sister's entire life just because she called my kids cheap? Should I have convinced him to show mercy, or did they get exactly what they deserved? Thank you so much for listening to our story. If you enjoyed this dose of karma, please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you never miss a new story. We post new drama every single day. Let me know in the comments, what would you have done if you were Graham? See you in the next video.